You are watching War Tales. The following story is based on documented historical events. It contains descriptions of war and violence intended for educational and historical understanding, not for glorification or political commentary. War Tales does not promote or glorify war, political bias, or violence. Before we begin, if you want to uncover more forgotten battles, untold wars, and the stories of those who shaped history, subscribe to War Tales, where every war has a heartbeat and every soldier's story is remembered. In the gray dawn of 1637, smoke rose over the Mystic River. By sunrise, an entire village was gone, burned to ash beneath a sky of musket fire and screams. This was not just another battle. It was the first major war fought on American soil, a war that would set the pattern for centuries to come. This is the story of the Pequot War, when ambition, fear, and faith collided to erase a nation. Long before the English arrived, the forests of southern New England belonged to the Pequot people. They were powerful, organized, and feared, controlling the fur trade along the rivers that fed into Long Island Sound. The Pequots lived in fortified villages, hunted the deep woods, and traded with both the Dutch and neighboring tribes. They were not savages, as their enemies claimed. They were merchants, diplomats, and warriors. Then came the English Puritans, settlers fleeing religious persecution, landing on these coasts with iron, muskets, and scripture. To the Puritans, this land was the promised land. To the Pequots, it was home. At first, they traded, beads for fur, iron for corn. But trade soon turned to tension. Every river, every beaver pelt, every acre became a prize. By the 1630s, rivalries ignited. The Dutch favored the Pequots. The English favored their enemies, the Narragansett and the Mohegan. Each alliance carried muskets and suspicion. When an English trader named John Stone was murdered in 1634, the English demanded vengeance. The Pequots denied involvement, but their words fell on deaf ears. 2 years later, another trader, John Oldham, was found dead, his ship plundered near Block Island. The killers were Narragansett, not Pequot, but the English, hungry for retribution and dominance, saw an opportunity. In Boston, Governor John Endicott declared war. The Puritans called it a holy duty. They gathered men, loaded muskets, and prayed for victory. The English militia sailed to Block Island, burning villages and crops, killing those they found. Then they marched into Pequot territory, torch in hand. They demanded tribute. The Pequots refused. The English responded with fire. Villages burned, fields turned to ash. For the first time, the Pequots saw the fury of an enemy who did not fight for land or honor, but for dominion. The Pequots struck back, ambushing settlers near Saybrook Fort on the Connecticut River. They cut supply lines, killed soldiers, and dragged survivors into the woods. For a year, blood and fear shadowed every trail. In the spring of 1637, the colonies of Massachusetts Bay, Plymouth, and Connecticut formed an alliance. Their goal, total destruction of the Pequot nation. Captain John Mason led 90 English soldiers, joined by hundreds of Narragansett and Mohegan warriors, traditional enemies of the Pequots. As they marched toward the Pequot stronghold at Mystic, Mason prayed aloud, "We shall burn them, for it is the will of God."
The night before the attack, rain fell over the forest. The soldiers waited in silence, wet powder, cold steel, trembling hearts. At dawn on May 26, 1637, the English and their allies surrounded the Pequot village at Mystic. Inside were roughly 700 men, women, and children, still asleep. Mason's men crept through the mist and opened fire. Muskets roared, arrows hissed, war cries split the air. But soon the English found themselves overwhelmed by numbers. In panic and fury, Mason shouted the order, "Set fire to it!" Flames leapt from hut to hut. Smoke choked the sky. Pequot families fled, only to be cut down by bullets and blades. Even the Narragansett allies were horrified. One was heard crying out, "It is too furious, too furious!" When the smoke cleared, the village was gone. Over 600 Pequot men, women, and children lay dead, most burned alive inside their homes. Mason later wrote, "We had sufficient cause to rejoice. God laughed his enemies to scorn." The Mystic Massacre broke the backbone of the Pequot people. Survivors fled into the woods, hunted, captured, or enslaved. Those who surrendered were sold to the West Indies, their names erased from the records. In 1638, colonial leaders signed the Treaty of Hartford. It declared that the Pequot tribe shall no longer exist as a people. Even the use of the word Pequot was banned. Their land was divided among the victors. The English expanded across Connecticut, calling it Divine Providence. But history would remember it differently. The Pequot War became the model for future wars against native nations. It combined alliances, surprise attacks, and the ruthless destruction of entire villages. In the centuries that followed, from King Philip's War to Wounded Knee, the blueprint of Mystic was repeated again and again. The Puritans saw their victory as God's will, but others saw it for what it was, the first genocide in American history. The Pequot never truly vanished. Their descendants walk the same soil today, bearing the memory of that dawn in 1637. The war lasted barely 2 years, but its echo shaped centuries. Because America's first war was not fought for freedom, it was fought for possession. And as the flames rose over Mystic, a new world was born, built on ashes. As the smoke cleared and the last echoes of battle faded, history wrote another chapter, a story of courage, fear, and consequence. Every war leaves behind lessons and voices that still whisper through time. If you've felt the weight of this story, there are countless more waiting to be told. Subscribe to War Tales, where every war has a heartbeat and every soldier's story is remembered.